Hello everyone, welcome to Super Coaching UPSC by Testbook. This is Venkatesh, your faculty for geography. So students, in the last few days, as you read the newspapers, you might come across this Cyclone Remal, right? You might heard about this. What I will do in this session is, instead of telling in a traditional way through pictures, I'll use the technology, right? And I'll try to see how there is a development of the cyclone, how you'll understand all the issues associated with the cyclone, and also the naming of the cyclones. So let us start this approach. Just a minute. Okay. I hope it is audible to all of you. I hope it is audible. Right. Is it audible? Okay, that's good. Now you see, as you can see this picture, you all know cyclones are what? Cyclones are low pressure systems where winds rotate inwards. Let me show you this in a Google picture, in a Google Earth. You see this one. Look at this. 28th May, early in the morning today. If you see the track of the cyclone, as I have shown you in my picture here, clearly the cyclone originated in the Bay of Bengal, moved north. As it moved north, and then it made landfall, the place where cyclone hits the coast, somewhere around border of Bangladesh and West Bengal, near the Sagar Island of India. So from there, it took turn towards Meghalaya and all. This is how it is. If you see the black color, this is the observed track as per the given by the Indian Meteorological Department, and the red color is the forecast where the cyclone is moving now. So if you see this, as of now, the cyclone is in the end stages, almost entering to India once again from Bangladesh. The death of cyclone, the cyclone dissipating has already begun. You look at how the wind systems are moving. Can you find a decent number of wind systems which are rotating inwards? No. You see, when the cyclone was more severe, you see near at the coastline, now you see how there is a rapid rotating in storm. You can clearly see how the winds are very much, okay. You can see from when it is near the coastline, you can clearly see how there is a very much wind systems. You see here how the winds are rushing. See it here. Look at how the winds are rushing. Okay, this is what we call a rapid rotating storm, where the winds rush into it from all the directions, right? So if this is the center of the cyclone, this is the low pressure area, and winds from all sides will enter into it, as you can see in this picture. When the cyclone was formed, you will not find all these systems. You see here, look at this. The winds are moving according to their paths, but they are not actually moving into the actual rotating storm of a tropical cyclone. But as the cyclone developed, you see it here. Look at how they have developed. You see this one. Initially, there is not much movement. Slowly, there is some development. But once it is in this severe cyclonic storm, you see winds from the moisture from all the sides, especially from the ocean, is entering into the center, right? So this is what the difference is there. This is a very, very interesting thing to observe. See, one of the aspects where technology helps us to learn right now is we have all these kind of things, and as you see it, there are some basic things which you will understand. You see here, there is a green color, there is a yellow color. This indicates that the cyclone's nature has changed. You see, cyclone has developed in the green color. That's why it is called as C. You see, this is what they are calling it as deep depression. Then you see, as the cyclone has crossed the wind speeds slowly, you can see they have increased. So all this will give you some idea. So we'll come back to this point again after my explanation so that there is a proper understanding. So what is the basic definition of a cyclone one can give? Anyone? What is the basic definition of a cyclone? Anyone? Come on, quickly. So as I told you, these are low pressure systems which they rotate inwards, right? So tropical cyclones are low pressure systems which rotate inwards, and the moment when I say cyclone, what are the things which you all associate? Definitely you will associate the low pressure systems. You will associate a good amount of winds, significant rainfall, associated with thunderstorms. You will also associate something called as storm surge. What is the storm surge? When a cyclone develops a low pressure system, usually cyclonic conditions means what? There is a low pressure at the center and winds are rotating inwards. When such bigger phenomena like tropical cyclone, see, the word called cyclone and the word called tropical cyclone are very different. Cyclone is a low pressure system, whereas a tropical cyclone is a phenomena. It's a bigger one, right? It's a phenomena which are associated beyond the low pressure systems, and usually when the winds rotate inwards, they're also associated with so many kinds of things, you know, like rainfall, storm surges, and all these kind of things. When you see all these kind of aspects, you will get to know that the tropical cyclones are very, very violent in nature. For example, whenever you see a tropical cyclone, this is how it looks like. Rapid rotating storm moving inwards. You can see the center, that is what you call it as the eye of a cyclone, where towards it the winds are rotating. Then as you see it, you can see here, every cyclone is always associated with a storm, huge amount of winds. You know, how do you think we name the cyclones? When do you call it as a cyclone? When Indian Meteorological Department observes, sometimes when the ocean is getting heated up, that is when they first see the condition that, oh, now you are seeing a cyclonic development. What is that? Now we are seeing a cyclonic development when the temperatures of the oceans are increasing. That's what the first ideal condition of a cyclone, which we call it as, you know, sea surface temperatures of minimum of 27 degrees Celsius or more, 26.5 degrees Celsius or more. When you find sea surface temperatures are such low or sea surface temperatures are such high, that is when the winds start entering into it, and slowly they will develop decent amount of speeds. See, usually when you see the first development of a cyclone, they would call it as a low pressure area. Low pressure area developed into a depression, depression into a deep depression, and consistently if the winds are entering into the center point and they are continuously moving, that is when we'll call it as a cyclone, when they reach around 62 kilometers per hour, 62, 63 kilometers per hour. According to Indian Meteorological Department, if you see it, once a low pressure area was developed in the Indian Ocean, that is both the Bay of Bengal and the Arabian Sea, they will give you a notification that a low pressure area is developed in the Bay of Bengal or the Arabian Sea, when the wind speeds reach around 31 kilometers per hour. From there, the observations begin. When slowly the temperatures are much more higher, slowly, because of certain favorable factors which we will discuss in the session now, you will see that cyclones will slowly develop into a bigger storm. So first the temperatures, and then slowly over a period of time it will turn into a depression when the wind speeds will be 31 to 49. So the low pressure area will turn into depression, depression to deep depression into a cyclonic storm. So this is the cyclonic storm, 62 to 88 kilometers per hour. That is when we will call it as a cyclonic storm. Then that cyclone storm will turn into the next level, which we call it as severe cyclonic storms until around 118 kilometers per hour. If it crosses 118 kilometers per hour, that is when we'll call it as very severe cyclonic storm, and then super severe cyclonic storm. Look at this. All these are associated with what? Winds. The more faster the wind systems, that indicates that cyclone is becoming intensified. That intensification is an outcome of variety of factors, where the main reason is sea surface temperatures. Look at this picture again. I will try to explain this once again through the technology here. You see here, initially when the cyclone Remal was developed, somewhere around, around 21st May, you see it is almost in the southern parts of the Bay of Bengal. The wind speeds are not that high. It is just around, wind speeds are at 30 kilometers per hour. The pressure conditions are still in the thousands millibars. If you see the pressure conditions, remember the average pressure conditions of the earth is itself 1013 millibars, right? 1013, that is the average. So from there, slowly the pressure becomes low. You see here 1003, and as you see, as you reach to the cyclonic storm, look at the thing, it is reaching 990, 978, right? So this indicates that what? Cyclone is a low pressure system. So initially, when the wind speeds are only around 30 kilometers per hour, that's an outcome of there is not yet a decent development of the cyclone. Sometimes a low pressure area which is developed, it will not turn into a depression. It might not turn into a cyclone as well. We never know. So that's what the key thing is. Then as you see, as you move towards, from 21st May, as you move towards say 24th May, now you see, slowly you are entering towards the north. Now you see we are calling it, this is a tropical disturbance. Tropical disturbance, a low pressure area. That's what we will call it as. Then you see it will turn into a depression. Look at the wind speeds, it is increasing 45. Look at how the winds are entering into the center. Slowly it is increasing. As you see, then deep depression. Look at how once again the wind speeds are 55 now. Then you see now as you are crossing 62 kilometers per hour, that is when the color is changing. Now we are calling it as a cyclone. So typically only when it reaches to this level, then only we'll call it as a cyclone. Otherwise we don't call it as a cyclone. So for a cyclone to be developed, the wind speed has to reach this minimum criteria which is being provided, at least of around 62 kilometers per hour. That is when the wind speeds are severe. That is where you will find the major thing. Then if the intensification keep on happening as it happened even here, you see here the cyclone wind speed has reached 70 now, and then slowly it even reached 100. Now you see, look at the colors are changing, look at the continuity, all the moisture available is leading towards this particular point. Okay, you see here everything you are finding here. So this is where you see Remal 100 kilometers per hour. So this cyclone has reached around almost around 115 kilometers per hour maximum wind speeds, when the pressure at the center is around 978. That is the cyclone Remal conditions, low pressure areas and the wind systems, right? And then you can see how slowly after this, you see after this, when a cyclone hits the land for the first time, we call it as a landfall. After the landfall, there is no moisture for the cyclone. Slowly it will start dying. You can see here. You see slowly. Now from the land, you will not get much moisture. Slowly the death of the cyclone begins. You see, that's why they will call it as a remnant low. Remnant low. You can see it here. Slowly as it is entering into the land, slowly look at how it slowly started having a negative impact. Now you see 28th May today 11:30 in the morning, it is located almost here, almost in India now, crossing the Bangladesh into the borders of Meghalaya, and slowly the wind speeds are reducing, but still it is around 55 kilometers per hour. Indian Meteorological Department, the disaster management's still has to be put in place, the systems has to be working, but slowly within a next span of next 24 hours, you will see the cyclone will be completely dying off. Why? There is no moisture. Look at the system now. There is no kind of a circular system. Look at the difference here, how the winds are entering. You see how the winds are entering into it, and look at now. There is definitely a variation. You forget about this system. This is beyond. We are not talking about this. We are only worried about this. Right. So that is the beauty of this topic. So the cyclones are in low pressure systems which are moving in a particular ocean. Across the world, there are so many regions where a cyclone moves, and as it moves, there are different areas, say by the Bay of Bengal, the be it even the Pacific Ocean, even the Australian coast, the Philippines regions. There are different areas where cyclones occur. So we'll divide into regional meteorological centers. Every region will try to name their cyclones for proper management of the cyclones in terms of bringing awareness and also bringing the things. So the local areas of the northern Indian Ocean, that is the Indian Ocean and the Bay of Bengal put together, that is the Bay of Bengal and the Arabian Sea put together. In fact, this is the first cyclone of this season. We did not have a cyclone in this season. This is the first cyclone, Remal, the first cyclone. And the naming, you can see here, the moment, whenever a wind speed of a cyclone which developed in the centers of northern Indian Ocean, that is the Bay of Bengal and the Arabian Sea, the moment it crosses 62 kilometers per hour, that is when you will find that, we'll call it as a cyclone, and that is when this name would be given to that. Until the wind speed is not reaching 62 kilometers per hour, the name is not being provided. Okay, so after the reaching, you do provide the name. So which countries do provide names? So the countries which might be impacted by the cyclones in the regions of Bay of Bengal and the Arabian Sea. So it is Bangladesh, India, Iran, Maldives, Myanmar, Oman, Pakistan, Qatar, Saudi, Sri Lanka, Thailand, UAE and Yemen. So every country will be giving 13 names list. So list 1, 13 names. You can see in the last few years, all the names would be here. For example, the last cyclone of the last season happened near Chennai, that is the 𝐵𝐸𝐽, right? You might remember the cyclone Biparjoy, which happened last year. You remember cyclones Asani. You can see cyclone 𝐂𝐸𝐑𝐿, which caused severe destruction during the second wave of COVID-19. You can remember cyclone Nisarg, that was during COVID first wave, right? Around May, June, right? So if you see here, these are all the names given by all these countries. Every country will be giving 13 names, like that 169 names. So the moment any cyclone or any kind of this kind of a system reaches 62 kilometers per hour, we'll immediately name them. The idea of naming is simply, to raise awareness among the public, so that once you reach the awareness about the public about these kind of things, they will be always utilizing this thing, for a variety of things. What? That might be useful for communication, proper disaster management, for giving warnings to the fishermen, warnings to the coastal authorities and all these kind of things. Unfortunately, the cyclone Remal, because it is turning into a severe, it has turned into a severe storm reaching almost 110, 115 kilometers per hour. It did cause certain kinds of deaths. Almost around 16 to 20 people have died, unfortunately. Yes, we have improved our disaster management, observations, tracking, forecasting is the reason why the number is low, though 0 is what we always want, but unfortunately we do find some kind of mishaps like this, right? This is the key thing. I hope you all have understood. So this is the Remal. This is the first cyclone of 2020-24 Northern Indian Ocean. First cyclone of 2024. And which country has given the name of the Remal? Oman. Which Remal means what? Sand. Remal means what? sand. So these are the basic ideas. Then where did it has done landfall? The cyclone has done landfall at the center of West Bengal. You can see here, this is the location at Bangladesh and West Bengal border. There is an island off the coast of Sagar Island. After that, you do find that the cyclone has impacted it. Now you see, this is how the system looks like. This is the eye, and this is where winds enter into it. Okay, all the winds enter into the center, and this is how a cyclone looks like, and this was the path of the cyclone, right? These are very, very important points for us to understand. Moving further, you see, for all these things, were a cyclone to be developed. Why do you think that this cyclone was named? A concept called cyclone was named. It is cyclone because it looks like a coils of a snake. A cyclone, okay, because it resembles the coils of a snake, okay. So that's what they are called it as, cyclical thing, cyclone. So you can see it resembles as coils of a snake like this. You can also see a cyclone, coils of a snake. They have named it as a tropical cyclone. And the key things are, you can always remember this one. When a cyclone develops like this and moves, it is not just around the cyclone's wind speeds which are dangerous. There is also another thing which is called as storm surge. You know what is storm surge? Storm surge. This is very, very dangerous, especially for the regions of Bangladesh and West Bengal, because the reasons are they are very, very close to the level of the mean sea level, and the height is not that great. And because of the nature of the cyclones being developed in the Bay of Bengal, they are almost at the receiving end of the tropical cyclone, especially in May, June. And whenever you will find such kind of things, you do find that storm surge. So what is the storm surge is? When the wind pushes the cyclone into the land, it also pushes the oceanic water into the land. So that surge, I think you all might heard about the word called surge. Surge is nothing but, extra, something which you are paying extra. You see, Uber, surge pricing, we do use that, right? Similarly, surge is an extra. Storm, the storm is pushing the water towards a coastal land. That is what is called storm surge, and this is also very, very dangerous. Sometimes the storm surges can extend 20 feet and bring a decent amount of water into the land, which is very, very dangerous. It could be so dangerous that they can cause severe destruction. Right? So this is about the tropical cyclone, about the storm surge. Then as you see, when you see another kind of thing, try to understand where are the cyclone conditions which are developed. Now for a cyclone to be developed, you will find a variety of reasons. One, there has to be decent amount of sea surface temperatures, at least of 26.5 degrees Celsius or 27 degrees Celsius. There is a decent amount of, sea surface temperatures. They need even Coriolis force for a cyclone to be rotated, right? If without a Coriolis force, a cyclone will not rotate into this kind of anti-clockwise and clockwise direction. So Coriolis force is the one which will rotate. You can see this one. So this Coriolis force is the one which makes the cyclone to rotate in this way, anti-clockwise in the north, clockwise in the south. So Coriolis force, as they reflect towards right in the northern hemisphere and left in the south, all the wind systems will rotate in an anti-clockwise direction, as you have seen that. There are so many other conditions, cyclones needed to be developed. I have explained these kind of things in another video. Let's have a brief overview. Sea surface temperatures, Coriolis force. You do find even they need good moisture, which is the source of latent heat, right? I think without moisture, that is, the cyclone cannot be developed. Why do you think that cyclones die after reaching the land? Because there is no moisture. In fact, this is the source of energy of a cyclone. So these moistures, they'll be having the heat which is trapped in the molecules of this moisture, the hidden heat. This is what we call it as the latent heat. That is the source of energy for a cyclone. Then you find the other things. There is the wind speeds across the height. Wind shear, which they call it as. What is wind shear is? If this is the surface level and this is the upper atmosphere, what is the variations of wind speed across the height? Okay, wind speeds across the height. Variation should be low. There should not be much amount of variations. Imagine if there is a wind speed which is moving, winds which are moving across the upper atmosphere and all. When this both interact, then the cyclone will start dying. So it has to have no kind of interaction. Only one thing should be there, and that is how this would be doing it. And as you move further, you will also find some other things, say pre-weather disturbances or pre-tropical disturbances. That means there has to be sufficient heat which should create into a disturbance which will slowly intensify into a tropical cyclone. And similarly, you will also need upper tropospheric divergence and all these kind of things, but these are the base. Also, when you see about the cyclones, there are different regions which are having different impacts. You can see here, this is what we will call it as cyclones, Chakravark and all these things. This is where you will find this as typhoons. In Australia, you will call it as Willy Willies. And in America, you will call it as the hurricanes. Right? This is the basic thing about cyclones. Hope you all have understood about the cyclone Remal, how the naming was done, how the cyclone has gone with the track, how the cyclone, has caused around where it caused landfall and all those kind of things, the namings, the landfall, concept of a landfall, how it has evolved from a low pressure area into a depression and then into a severe cyclone. That's it about cyclone Remal. Until we come with next time another topic, I hope you all have learning it. Happy learnings to all of you. Thank you.